Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm Selena Roane, your host for Close to Death. And tonight I have a really cool guest. She is an intuitive, an empath. She reads tea leaves and tarot cards. She's had over 25 years experience, and she's also an author, writer, journalist. You name it, she does it. It's Teal Gray from Teal Gray Worldwide. How are you, Teal?
Doing great. How are you?
I am doing really good, actually. I'm starting to get over the coughing, so if I do have a coughing spell, it's please excuse me. But
listen, it's happened to me on air more than once, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, definitely. We have actually, Teal and I have actually started hanging out. We met at Granbury Paranormal Expo, and we have been doing a little adventuring together. We're going to talk a little bit more into detail about that, but first we want to talk about your 25 years of experience. Tell us how you got into all this.
Well, it really was interesting. You and I both share the Cherokee Blackfoot Sioux heritage and the Native American heritage. And so a lot of the signs, wonders, tea leaf reading, and even the cards were passed down to me through grandparents, great-grandparents. And so that's always sort of been part of my life. It was always there. And I literally, even, 7 years old, I was learning the cards and things. So it's sort of always been part of my life.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds that way. I mean, when you're around, like you said, the American Native Indians and Blackfoot and Cherokee, of course we believe in the spirit world. Of course the ancestors believed in the spirit world. And my ancestors as well had, abilities of, I don't know about reading tea leaves or anything like that, but I can dang sure tell you that my great-grandmother and my mom both had the ability to tell people that they were pregnant and what they were going to have, and lo and behold, that's what they would have. And so
and of course also I'm heavily the blood in me is German, and so a lot of the Germanic relatives also, this is part of their heritage. I mean, I do have a little bit of the Romany in me, not much, but a little. I did the DNA testing because I was so curious, and so I found out all the different parts of me. So it's kind of interesting. So all those things together piqued my curiosity, and through time, been training, and I think it just was one of those natural things, and it was something that was not looked down on. It wasn't something you had to hide. Although they did, it was one of those things that my spirit guide, when I was a child, did teach me that you had to be very careful in the world. And so I think you and I have talked about that before, that you learn to keep it close. And only now really, through the years, I'll have bursts where I come out more public, and then I kind of like, I don't know if I'm. And so I've decided, look, it's there, it's part of it, and here I am. So I don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah, it is. Back in the day, I mean, when I was a younger child with the deja vu things, you kind of had to keep that kind of on the down low, because people would be like, "What's wrong with her?" You can only chalk up so much to a child's active imagination. And then it was a little bit over the top for some people. So the dreams and things that me and you have talked about before, that also has to do with, keeping it quiet, especially, the dreams that I had and we discussed. You just don't tell everybody things like that.
No, prophetic dreams, even, I know people who have prophetic dreams now, and they still, some are well known, and they keep those close to the cuff, because it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot going on with that. And as you know, it affects the person and other people around you. So, it's just something people kind of keep personal.
Yeah, when you said, you kind of made me laugh a little bit. Got tickled when you said that you come out a little bit every year. I know all about that, but I kind of just busted out the closet all at one time.
Right.
Except for my empath abilities, and that's kind of been
See,
Just
that's new for you. That's new for you, and that's
Yes.
something I didn't know what name to put on it when I was young, but I always had that ability, and I sort of learned, and actually, my spirit guide would teach me things, tell me things. You got to think too. Also, it was like as if people do have an imaginary friend, as they call them. I could see her fully, and her name was Jamie. And so I didn't, for the longest time, I just thought everybody could see Jamie, because there's Jamie, Jamie. But actually people did see Jamie opening and closing doors, closets, moving things, swings, whatever was going on. I mean, people knew there was something there, they just didn't see them. But so I did learn from her, about being an empath and how, those emotions, those things you feel, those waves, as you know, it's waves, it's flood sometimes of emotion that you pick up from other people. That's just something you sort of you learn to live with it. You just didn't know what name. Something I still work on it. I know other empaths who it's really kind of a lifelong thing. Some are better at keeping it in control and using it and honing it than others. And I've gotten better over the years, but there's times when you just don't have your guard up, if you will, and
they get you.
You'll walk. Well, yeah, and I think you talked about it before. You'll walk through a mall, and I'll get a flash sometimes if I'm just open. I'll get a flash, and it'll just rush over me an emotion of, I know I can see the fight that the young man had with his family before he had to go to work, and the stress of the holidays. You can feel and hear and see all those emotions and everything rushing through his mind. And it is overwhelming when you're with people, you're just trying to have lunch, and so you have to learn how to control that.
Yeah, it is definitely exhausting. The first book that you wrote, Reading the Unwritten, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Tell me about the book and what had you like, oh, I need to write this book. What was the inspiration for it?
Well, actually, a lot of it was because I thought, this I'm keeping so personal. This very few people know. And then when I realized, actually, you're part of the reason that I went ahead and pushed it forward, and you and my daughter Tiffany, because I realized I could help people with that, especially the empath part, and how to reconcile all those different pieces of the whole person. And also being an ordained minister, I could also help people reconcile, how can I have these abilities? Is this against God? How, because certain churches teach, oh, this is all bad. And so some people feel like, well, then I must be bad. I must be innately bad because I didn't ask for this. This is just stuff I know. I can't help it. You were a little girl. You didn't ask for those prophetic dreams, and yet you had them. And so part of it is to really, it's just an outreach to people and let them know, look, it's all okay. It's all good. Everybody is psychic. I think to a huge degree, I think everybody's also empathic. It's just different levels of things. It's just like any other talent, whether it's sport, music, anything that you do. Everybody just has a little tweak of this or that. And I wanted everybody to just realize that everybody's okay. You're all good. It's all great. God gave you these gifts, and it's up to you to figure out what do you do with them. I know for you, you've done some public speaking on it, and you've helped people in that way. Same for me. And I just hope the book will also help people to kind of reconcile it. So, and have a few good ghost stories mixed in there too.
Exactly. And which we do. And like, again, we're going to tease them until the end, because we're going to talk about our little expedition to Rogers Hotel.
Wow. That was something.
It was amazing. I can't wait to actually go back, and we're going to try to talk about something else in private, and we'll have to just spring it on them later.
That may be our thing. We do tend to both spring things on people. Like, guess what? This is all happening. Maybe that's thing.
Kind of like the door at the Rogers. We just kind of bust it open and go, here it is.
You bust it open, they can chain it up, and it's not going to work. Take off the hinges, it's just going to go. That's right. It's all full speed ahead. Full speed ahead.
So the tea leaf reading thing, I'm very interested in that because I understand that now. I really would like to learn the tarot cards, or however you say it, tarot cards.
You know, again, that's some people are very specific about how they like it said. Some are tarot, some are tarot, and
like Target and Target, right?
It's all. But you know what? It's all the same. So however you want to say it, you'll hear me say it both ways. It just depends. But most of the time, I just say tarot cards. That's the Southern way that we do it. So anyway, yeah, I'll teach you how.
So the tea leaves. How do you do the tea leaves? I want to know how exactly that works.
Now, okay, with the tea leaf, to kind of, there's also, and I guess we'll get into that with the second, when we talk about the second book, but just as a kind of a short lesson on it. I am doing classes now. I'm going to be taking them on the road, if you will. My first one will be Wednesday night in Dallas, and then I have dates that are lining up for Austin, and then we'll go all over Texas. And of course, you know that we're going to go all over, everywhere, worldwide. So, but how you read the tea leaves is you will have the person think about what it is what is their question, what is it they want to know. You have them focus on that just like you would with cards, and then as they sip the tea, you don't do a quart. I mean, you do a full cup. It's very small amount because I just need them to activate the tea leaves for me, and so they will do that, and then after they finish the tea, what's left in the bottom is the tea leaves, and are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, my thing said we lost our connection. Okay, so they will ask the question, drink down the tea, and then what's left is a pattern of the loose tea leaves, if you will. And I can do the same thing with coffee grounds. So I read your coffee grounds or your tea leaves. And so in the cup, I do it, there's people who do it two ways. Some people just read the cup. Some people, you take the cup and you put it down on top of a saucer and they read the saucer. I do both because I also push the cards to the limit. I kind of push, if you know me, I push everything a little further than you probably should. Just a little extra kick. So the cards, everybody has a layout for cards that they prefer. So I do the layout for the cards, and then I do more. And people, but you only lay them out a certain way. I let the cards speak to me. So I do extra. Same thing with reading the tea leaves. I look at what you have in the cup. I want you to hand it to me. And the person that is asking the question, let's say it's you, I'm going to say, I want you to have the handle, where your finger would go through, of the cup pointed towards you. And then we're going to turn it 3 times while concentrating on your question. And it's going to still end up at you facing me. Okay? And then I'm going to look at what's left on the tea leaves, in your cup. Now, depending on where they are in relation to the handle is how soon it's coming into your eyes, how far away, the position in the cup, even from the depth of the height and to the depth, and every little minor spot all throughout that cup it means something, and they mean something in relation to each other, just like cards. It's actually quite difficult to do, and then I want that, and then I'm going to say, okay, now Selena, we're going to take it, and here's the saucer. We're going to take it. We're going to boom onto the saucer so the tea leaves will fall there, and that's going to give me, to me, my extra kick because I've already got your reading, and I'm also psychic, so I have that as well. But I really do focus. If I'm doing a psychic reading, then I'm doing a psychic reading. If it's something empathic, it's empathic. If it's tea leaves, I let them speak. I don't try to. I let them talk. That's what's working. So that's going to tell me the story. And then they're going to give me something extra on what's on the saucer, because again, the saucer, like if you would just use your hand, if that's the saucer, every spot on the saucer means something, whether it's close to the center, out to the rim, where is it? Everything means something. And so that's how you do that. And the coffee grounds would be the same thing. It would be the same situation. They're going to fall in a pattern that's going to tell me something.
Wow.
And you get a lot of detail. It's a lot of fun. We'll do that at the next adventure.
Actually, yeah, and that's I'm going to kind of get off on that a little bit. I'm really excited about this weekend, actually.
In
Joplin, Missouri, and we are going to take that place by storm. Actually, we're gonna hit the John Wise Mansion for a couple of nights. We're gonna hit the Kendrick House. We're gonna hit Galina's Murder Bordello, and the thing that's the coolest part of it is that the group that we have is so cohesive and so the energies are so good that I have put together for this trip. Luckily, it's so weird how things fall into place. I had 2 tickets left, and Teal actually took my last 2 spots. And it was just kind of a by chance moment, because at first she wasn't going to be able to.
Yeah,
so,
in Europe. So
exactly.
That got put off, and part of the place where I was going to be in Europe, they're rioting. And so I'm like, I think I can go later. It's cool.
It is really cool. So this is going to be actually an amazing trip, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And not only do we have authors and historians and all these awesome people with us, we have tech guys, and we have one poor guy is going to go with a lot of women. I really feel for him. I'm going to try to bring up the testosterone level just a tad for him to help him out. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. The trip that we have planned, I got a surprise. Actually, 2 surprises. The one surprise was that I got an email from my aunt, my great aunt. Her and my uncle have been divorced for I don't know how long. I haven't seen her since I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And she, out of the clear blue, she emails me through my Fear website and says, I don't know if you remember me, but I was married to your uncle, and guess what? I live in Joplin, and guess what else? I used to live down the street from the Murder Bordello.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. Now talk about how weird that is.
Yeah.
I was in the DVD about the Murder Bordello, had no idea, never even heard of it, never knew anything about it, and then a year later, I find out my great aunt could have given us some information for our DVD documentary. I'm like, so guess what?
Now you need it now.
Now I need it. And guess what? I'm going to use that information. And we're going to do a little bit of recon and things like that. So Teal and I have a couple of things we're going to bring to you after our trip to Missouri. They're going to be very cool. I know for a fact.
We're going to do filming, I know.
Yes. And so not only did I get that news, but I have the best trigger object that I could have for our actual investigation of Galina Murder Bordello, which is the actress that played Nancy Staffelback in the documentary DVD. Yes, ma'am. So we are going to have a really, really good time.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you saying she was quite the magnet. So
she is.
Great. I'm excited. It's going to be really great.
2 hours during the daytime, and we were actually playing poker with the spirits at the Galina Murder Bordello, and she was our live trigger object. It was insane. It was so cool, and she's such a cool lady, and she just she had them coming out. I don't know if they're just excited about what he's done to the place, and and that she really kind of has a kindredship to Nancy. I'm not real sure, but whatever works, man.
Hey, if they like her, we love it.
Yeah, they do, and I really like her. I can only describe her as one thing, and it's actually a phrase. She's rock and roll. That's all I can ever tell you. You're gonna know when you see her what I mean. So I'm really excited about that. But let's take our ADD or my ADD back to the subject here. And you have a second book that we were just discussing, which is tea with teal. So,
you know, so that book is coming out, and it's going to be photographs that I've taken of reading to show exact examples, a lot of examples of how this is what this means when they fall this way, when they fall this way. Because a lot of times books, I love the written word. Obviously, I do it all. You know that because I send like, here's this new story I wrote at 4:30 in the morning. You're like, go to sleep. Yeah. But anyway, but I think with certain things, especially like this, the illustrations mean everything. Because it's very difficult unless you're in one of my classes, which you can do. There's going to be a lot of classes that you can do, you know, locally, and that I'm going to take on the road. So you'll be able to learn literally from me. But also I'm going to do, later we'll do like a DVD series of it, but the book will come out straight away. It really has to. I was going to do it a little later, but people are like, I don't want it right now. So, we're going to do that. And, so that will have pictures, photos, you know, detailed descriptions of how to do it, how to read it, what it means. And, so I think that will help people. I think it's interesting because you have to think, here it's a little different. When you travel, I travel a lot, but when you're in Europe, especially places, it seems like I love Scotland so much. One of the things about it that is so great is everybody over there is just, this is who I am. Here I am. Hello. They don't worry about it so much at all. And you will see people still looking in there at the end of this little bit of tea or their little bit of coffee. And I know what they're doing. They're looking at that's their daily horoscope. I mean, over there, especially the older ladies, that's big time over there. They do it all the time.
Wow.
So, and there's other places in the world they do too. It's just funny because you'll notice it more. You know, you see it every day more. And that's probably just because they drink a lot of tea. You know, there.
Wow.
You just notice it, you know. Like, oh. And because they're looking, you know.
I'm going to have a really crappy day today, it looks to be.
Then that's when you want to just say, well, maybe I'll have another cup of tea and we'll see.
We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, I don't like that. We'll just hit the cup a little and try for something else.
No doubt. So you have a third book coming out as well. My God. I mean, how do you have time to do anything else? Because
I don't sleep much. That's true. I don't sleep much. Well, the third book, though, is a kind of coming together after all these years of travel, and it's called Everyday Sacred. And I just kept seeing all these places all over the world, amazing places. And I would tell some people, most people got it, but I would tell some people, and they were like, that's really cool. And you could tell they thought, it's a really beautiful photo, it's a really neat thing,
it's a neat,
but
cool
I'll
thing.
never be over there. I'm never going to get over there. And the disconnect was, you know, it's cool, but doesn't really mean anything to me. I'm glad you went. That's great, but I don't know what you're all excited about. And I thought, you know what, that's true. They don't know what am I so excited about. So Everyday Sacred is going to take, obviously, you know, well-known places throughout the world that, and then a lot of them are very little known, and yet quite sacred and very historic. And so I will take that, and I'm going to tell you, why is that? Why does that matter to you in your everyday life? Why everyday sacred? What does that mean? It means that from the biggest thing to the smallest things, every day, even washing the dishes, everything that we do is sacred if you really think about it. I mean, just the water that you're using to wash the dishes, to prepare the meal, to bond with your family or your loved ones, you know, there's many people around the world who don't have running water. They don't have enough food. They don't have the dishes to even put it on. They don't. And we have, right. we have. And sometimes you need to take a little time and be thankful and grateful for that. Slow down. I mean, we live busy lives, but sometimes you just have to bring it in, slow down, and think about just the sacred in the everyday. And it really makes you kind of look at things differently, take it all in differently. And once you realize what the history is and what it means to you, for some of these sites around the world, Stonehenge, I was lucky enough, I mean, there was a handful of tickets when I went at that time, the passes that they were handing out to where you could actually be inside the hinge. I mean, you can always go to see Stonehenge, but they keep you, 40, 50 feet back. And I was able to bring my daughters and into the hinge, right there, there's pictures of me with the stones, and we're inside the hinge watching the sunrise. And that was pretty amazing. And also, it had just been a few days before that they had reported seeing, or that there was a crop circle that had been made in the field, over things over. So I'm standing in the hinge, feeling those stones. The stones actually, it's true where people tell you they really feel a resonation through them. It's you really do feel a vibe there. And you're looking out over just an expanse of land in every direction. Wherever you look, it's just open land. And I'm thinking, gosh, I would love to go. No way we can get to it. But I would really love to go check out that crop circle. So that was awesome. But why does that mean anything? Why is that something that has throughout time fascinated people? It's going to tell you, just as an example, that fascination stays through generation after generation because it does mean something. As a people, we're all connected all around the world. If something happens to somebody across the world, it really makes because we're all, I think, connected. And so it's just those stories. It's going to be in depth, and you can read it and see the beautiful pictures. And if you don't get anything out of the story, that's great. But if you want something deeper out of it to understand how are we all connected and what does that mean and why is it sacred and what can I get? How does that help me? I'm going to tell you in that book.
Cool. Well, I mean, it really sounds cool. Now, I know if my mom would have been in a better state of health, and we had probably had a little bit more money, she would have probably taken me to cool places like that. So I'm kind of jelly that that Tiff got to go there. That's really cool.
Well, the thing is, it's like it is difficult, and I am blessed, that I can do that. I can take my girls, but I want to bring that to people because that's something that they may not be able to go to all of those places, but here's something you could sit in your living room with and read to your daughter. You can read it to your son and be like, okay, we're not going there yet. I know we're going to be there with Teal one day, but right now. But here's this, here's what's going on here, and here's why it means something. And then when you do go, by having that history, by having that background on all these places that are sacred and that do mean something historically to you, it means more to you. There's been places that I've gone, even as much as I try to research and everything. Of course, I've got a walking historian with me, as you know. So, but even before that, there's some things you just don't know. And I think, darn, I wish I'd have known that when I was there. I wish I'd have known that 20 miles away we could have seen that. You're never going to get to all of it, really. I mean, and that's probably good because it gives you something to shoot for. But, it's something, and I'll also put it up on the site and on the magazine. I'll have different little bits of it here and there for people, so if they don't want to buy the book, that's okay. But if they want the full story, then the book is there for that.
Awesome. Well, so our little expedition took us to a little town in Texas called Waxahachie, and it just so happens that my mama was born in Waxahachie.
I thought that was so cool.
It was kind of a cool connect. And we go and we meet at the Rogers Hotel, which has been, oh my God, a place that I've wanted to go since, I guess I was across the street at Para-Unity when I actually met a lot of new people, and we went to go investigate the Twisted Frog across the street. I saw the hotel and I was like, oh my God, man, I want to go in there so bad. And they were like, well, good luck with that. Good luck with that, sister. Yeah, that's going to be a pipe dream you won't get to do. And I'm like, all right.
When I said, I know the owner. Do you want to go?
Yeah, just like nothing, and I'm like, what, are you crazy? Yeah, what time, what date? I'll be there. So we did, and we met with the guy who told us a lot of history about it. since you're such the historian and have researched so much better than I have on Rogers Hotel, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the place, and then we'll go into kind of what happened.
Okay, the Rogers Hotel is really beautiful.
Yes.
I wish I didn't really think about it. I would have done some pop-up pictures for you right here. But it's really beautiful, and we both have pictures up on our site, so you can look at that. But it was built in 1912, and it actually opened its doors in 1913. And it was the man's wife. His wife's name was Nancy. And you and I actually had some messages from Nancy, and we were so busy with all the other folks that were talking to us that we kind of like, hi, Nancy, and forgot that Nancy's the owner's wife, you know, like, dang, Nancy. But we, you know, it's a beautiful hotel. It's really, they've kept its integrity. It was closed up for double-digit years, many years. It had people from the Old West that went through there. It had Sinatra play there in the Grand Ballroom, which we did some stuff in the Grand Ballroom. And we're going to do some future stuff in the Grand Ballroom. But it's beautiful. And it's still, when you walk in that ballroom, you can really feel the past. I mean, it's all there. And in fact, the ballroom, before it was the ballroom, I think in the 20s and 30s when they turned it into the ballroom. The earlier days, that was actually the cotton gin, they called it, and that's what they call it today, the cotton gin ballroom. Because they have everybody, like still all the workings for the elevators that would bring all this heavy bags of cotton and other goods from street level on up to that level. And they would have merchants that would line the walls of that room, and it's a big long room. So you had that was the hub of Waxahachie at the time. That was where everybody went. You know, once a week was the main day when everybody put the cotton out, and they had, you know, you had the ladies who made the homemade jellies. They had clothing, whatever you needed, you know, knives, and just everything that you would need for the time. All these merchants are all around the tables and doing that. And then the cotton literally set the price. They set the tone for everybody through the monetary value, because the cotton exchange, that was the rate of, you know, all the money. So it was pretty exciting.
I got you. Are y'all with me?
Yeah,
I'm with you. I don't know if you can see me, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, good. I think we just had a shift for some reason. But anyway, so it would that's what that would happen in that ballroom. It also had a connection for that hotel. It's really interesting because the elevators, everything in it is original. It's just beautiful. And Bonnie and Clyde stayed there. And you have a connection with the Bonnie and Clyde. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yes, I do. It's a very cool connection, actually. My great-great-grandfather, Yates, was the constable of Lancaster, actually, during the Bonnie and Clyde days, and he accidentally walked into the bank on them holding up the bank, and they took him hostage, tied him up by a train trestle, and he was the only one that they didn't kill or hurt, and for some reason.
I was about to say, he's lucky. I can't believe he's so lucky they didn't kill him.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's his personality that did it, or if his, I'm not sure.
His charm.
Must have been his charm, I'm not sure. But anyway, they spared him, so I'm doing a little research on that, and it was kind of cool that we ended up, you know, besides one, my mom being born in Waxahachie, but two, the Bonnie and Clyde deal. But that place, the minute you walk in, it almost has the feel of the Menger Hotel to me. It's still in its pristine condition. It's been kept, like you said, as original as it can. The Cotton Gin Ballroom, when you walk in and know that there were mobsters and Bonnie and Clyde and Frank Sinatra and even Clark Gable, I think he said, was in that ballroom. I'm just like, oh my God, my mother loved Clark Gable. It's like everything was just connected in that place. And The ballroom was amazing, but the elevator that they brought all their wares up to trade for their trade days or whatever, that was just, I was blown away by that. The view from the roof was crazy. Now, how an entity, tell us this, and we still have yet to figure this out. Teal and I are stumped. How in the world do you figure out what in the world, how in the world a door gets blown off of a roof access? Not once, not twice, several times. Yeah. They've chained it, they've changed hinges, they've changed padlocks, they've changed, they've done everything. And it was blown completely off the hinges.
Yeah. And in fact, the day that we went, they had just redone the bolts, redone the hinges, chained it up, everything, and we got access to everything, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. And so, I mean, we have all these locks and keys, and we're going through this and that to get this and that. Because even the hotel, within the hotel, it's locked down. Like,
yes.
It's locked down level to level to level, and it's one of those things. It's almost like being with people from, the FBI or something. It's like, which level, which classification do you have? Well, you can get here or not. But we had full access, so it was pretty. But they took us up, so we went through all the things to even get to the stairs, and then you have to go through more, passes and keys and locks to get to this and that. And yeah, when we went outside, you could feel something, and the door was blown off the hinges, and it's powerful because you really see that you can see where it's been rebuilt. It's not old feeble wood that they just keep, patching. This is new. They spare no expense on making, the bolts, the hinges, the doors, everything secure, because that's quite a valuable hotel and everything in it. So they want this to be secure. Also, where that door is on the roof in relation to the building, it's not something that would be easy for somebody to get to. Not to mention there's cameras and things.
Yeah, everywhere.
And another little tidbit, don't forget, every single window in that hotel, from top to bottom, small to large, every one is not only sealed and nailed shut, but they have steel rods going through each one. So you cannot open any windows. So, and none of them have been breached. And in fact, the glass, if you remember, is also protected with steel, like chicken wire. It's mesh. It's prettier than steel wire, but it's steel. And even if you got up on the roof and you broke the thing, you couldn't get through any of the windows. You can't get in. You can't get out. I mean, you're not going anywhere. But the thing is, it's not, and this is something people need to know, they're not breaking in from the outside. It's being busted out.
Yeah.
And in fact, the owner was there with some other people. They were having a meeting about the hotel and renovations and different things. And of course, the renovations. And while dead still, in fact, the day we were there wasn't a breeze. We were up on the roof. There wasn't a breeze. It was warm. And some people think, oh, well, you're up, 4 or 5 stories. There's always a breeze. No, there wasn't that day, and there wasn't when we were there. There was not. And they were having a meeting. Everything's closed, and it's actually not a door that would be something that would have a tilt or anything that it would swing open. And that thing just blew off its hinges while they were having their meeting, and that got the owner's attention. So he's like, yeah, call Teal Gray and tell her, come on and see what's going on. And we did, I don't know if you want to tell them, but we talked to who Mike said he was responsible for it on, if you remember, on our spirit box.
Yes.
He said, who is it? And every time he said it was Mike. And nobody else answered. There was no other thing. It was just clearly Mike. And we asked him if, what happened. He felt like he was cheated, and also his wife had been stolen. He's mad. And every once in a while, I guess he acts out, and that's it. So maybe that's Mike,
We were coming to the conclusion, and being that when I walked out on that roof, I'm normally scared of heights, but it wasn't that high.
I didn't know you were. I was like, come look over the edge.
No, I wasn't at all, but the feeling that I got was that someone else was extremely, I mean, they'd been thrown over the roof. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And it wasn't once or twice. And then there was, it's really weird because in the basement of the thing, they have this really weird, like, water pool where a little girl drowned. And I could almost, and, you know, like you said, we're all kind of psychic or whatever. I've never had visions or anything like that, but I could almost picture them taking bodies out of that basement, right up those little stairs into the back alleyway, and no one would ever know they were up there.
Even today, that alleyway is a little creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody going to see you, you know. Well, and in fact, just to touch on a little bit about the basement, there also were professional baseball players back in the day who would come from all over, and there was one, particularly several that were prima donnas, and that's what they called them. They were prima donnas, wanted a pool, because they said, why are we coming to Waxahachie? We can be anywhere.
Right.
You know, if you're going to make us be there and trained, then we demand a swimming pool. So they put a swimming pool on the roof. That didn't work for very long. And for a lot of reasons, I could see just horrible things that could go wrong with that. So they built one in the basement, and it's actually, it's viable today if you wanted to fill it up. But, I mean, I wouldn't want to try to get in and out of it. But anyway, unfortunately, the owner of the hotel, his two daughters died there. The younger one was playing on the edge of the pool, and she fell in and she drowned. And then the second daughter, we did research, you know, and some we thought that in the room, there's a room on the fourth floor that she hung herself. So the tragedy, both his daughters died in that hotel, and he and his wife Nancy lived to be quite old, but their daughters died young. One is a young girl, and then one is a young lady. And but we had, if you remember, one of the maintenance guys who came down to us. We were doing some, you know, some things down in the basement there at the pool, and the maintenance guy said, "Hi, like, you see things here?" And we were like, "Do you see things here?" Yes. He said there, and also in the ballroom. And he said he got chills as he was telling us. He's like, "I'm getting chills. I feel them here," and he laughed. He took off. Yeah. And I was like, "Hey," he's like, "No, they're here," and he took off. But he said in the ballroom that he and his father and his son were working on the ballroom because there's been some little bit of renovations and bathrooms and stuff around there. And across the hall, where they're on the, you know, they're up there, second floor, fourth floor on some of these things he's working on, and he said it was a pounding, not like somebody pounding on a door, but as if something as big and strong as a building was hitting another building, just wow, wow, oh. And he said you felt it vibrate. It was so strong, and of course terrified them, and they left because there was nobody in the hotel. And I know there was a skeptic that was around there with me on day 2 who said, pipes rattle and make a terrible noise. That's true, but at the time there weren't any even pipes there. You know, there was nothing there. Nothing was hooked up. There was that floor had been, that was part of the place that had been locked down and disconnected. And everything's new anyway. But at the time, there wasn't even any pipes to rattle. And so it wasn't the water. It wasn't the pipes. It wasn't the pressure. And the same skeptic thought, well, as far as the door blowing off the roof, a building can have pressure build up, and it can have things blow open. Okay, except that, and I showed him, I said, well, okay, except that, and he had nothing to say after that, but except that there's a huge gap that they have, you know, at the bottom of the door. Remember, you saw like there's a gap. So there is no pressure buildup, and you've got to think there was room after room that you went through, and if there's no way that you're just having like a pressure buildup and blowing that door off. It's complicated, but you and I will be able to show it when we get together and finally put like the maps, you know, the floor plans with the pictures and show people. there's just that just doesn't ring true. So there's things there and things going on and people we connected with that you just can't explain.
Well,
sure.
I got a question real quick. It's kind of off topic a little bit, but it's from the chat room, and it is, what is your favorite tarot deck card and why?
I'm a traditional Rider-Waite person. I just love it. I think it's what I learned on, maybe. So it to me, there's some people that have something that just reminds them of home or something that reminds them of, the early days. And Rider-Waite, there's some beautiful decks. In fact, I'm making my own deck. It's going to be called the Gray Masquerade. And we're actually shooting it in New Orleans. And so then we'll have a release party in Dallas and in New Orleans because I was born in Dallas, but New Orleans. So I'm going to have my own deck. So obviously I love the visual of a lot of the decks. It's beautiful. But to me, Rider-Waite just, I don't know, every detail is there. Everything is so clear. The meaning, once you learn the cards, and one way to help somebody learn cards is just get a deck. And of course, just spend a day, a card a day. And just really look at the picture, really look at the detail, because every little thing is going to mean something on there. Whether it's one flower or 5 flowers or a rocky cliff, or maybe there's water, or is there no water? Is it, really, really study the picture. Everything means something. And I don't know, it's just, that's my favorite one. And I love the detail because, a lot of the decks, you certainly, I think, would need to know how to read quite well because, they're visually stunning and beautiful, but the detail is not there. And the detail in the other one, I just love that a picture tells a story. So I even try to shoot my own pictures that way, like telling a story. My older daughter does that beautifully. She's a photographer, and her picture's just gorgeous. You can just look at that shot and feel like you have a story out of it. So that's my favorite deck.
Wow. Well, so just so that people know that you've had quite a few experiences in your lifetime, is there one that sticks out to you that really kind of burned a hole through you and it's kind of sparked your interest more?
Well, I guess, there's a lot, but, and those are going to be in the books and stuff too, because there's so many, but one that I really I couldn't tell you this is absolutely what it was, but this is what I think it is, and I've had other sidekicks. And as you know, I've talked to all over the world, people, so I'm always like, hey, this is what happened, and what do you think about that? One day, when it was early morning, and I woke up, but I couldn't move. And I know everybody says, oh, that's just a sleep issue, that people are coming out. Okay, except that I was wide awake, I've been awake. I still couldn't move. And it terrified me, not for that, but by the fact that I saw across the room, on my dresser, there was a man sitting on top of the dresser. And it just, I had 2 young daughters, and so, boom, first thing you think of, somebody broke in the house, right? That's what I think of. Even though I've had so many experiences, I'm still skeptical. I don't think everything that's a bump in the night is anything, maybe but your plumbing, or, the dog, or, whatever. But, so I'm not one to jump to conclusions like that. So my first thought was somebody broke in the house. I'm trying to get up, leap up into action. I can't move. And yet, I also at the same time realizing this person doesn't look at all like they're from our time frame at all. This guy, albeit absolutely gorgeous, he had long, hair, the curly kind of hair, and his clothes were more cloak-like than clothes. And he's just sitting there staring, and I now understand. I understand it later. At the time, I was just afraid, but he was just staring at me, and I'm sure he was just trying to speak to me, telepathically, and give me something that I was in my panic not getting. But it lasted. I looked, but the clock was right there, and I could see it, and I kept thinking, if this is one of those episodes where you're supposed to wake up, I need to wake up. I need to do something. And yet I knew I was awake. And it was about 7 minutes that passed. And then, he was there, and then he kind of just flexed his head and his shoulders a little bit. And then I could move. And I sat up quickly. He didn't move. He didn't smile. He didn't anything. He didn't have a bad expression on his face. It was just sort of,
a blank stare.
Kind of like, yeah, kind of a blank stare, but not evil in any way. But
Right.
It was meaningful, and I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. And so, golly, that was wild. And that was like, like I said, like 7-something in the morning. It bothered me. It bothered me because it was so real. And then as he started to fade, he was solid. Like, I really thought it was a person. He started to fade, and then you could see, more of the dresser behind him, and then he was just gone. Well, I went to work, the day goes on, whatever, and I got a phone call that evening, and anyway, my father died. He had a massive heart attack and died. So I thought, was that an angel that was coming to give me a warning? Was that his angel that was there, and it just stopped by? I always wondered that. And then a few years later, I was doing dishes, middle of the day. Nothing paranormal was on my mind. There was nothing strange. I hadn't seen any scary movies. Nothing, really, at all. And my older daughter had said, hey, I'm going to be taking some pictures, so if anybody comes by and I haven't gotten off work yet, just let them know that I'll be there. And I have 2 houses on 3 acres, and the second house, where she was saying, it's out close to a big grove of pecan trees, and it's this huge. We're actually about to have a second wedding here on the property. People love to get married or do things under these trees. It's this giant, ancient, like, growth of pecan trees, and it's in the round, just naturally. I don't know. I mean, when we bought the property, it's that way. So it's this huge circle, so you can sit under there. It's just giant. It's gorgeous. So she said these people wanted to take pictures underneath the grove of pecan trees. So I was like, okay. So she's like, I just didn't want you to be startled if you see these people come. No problem. So I'm doing dishes, whatever. And all of a sudden, through the backyard, this very tall man, very thin, very tall, and all in black and white, mostly black. The only white that I saw, which I thought was clothing, actually was more him, kind of ashen gray and white. He had this very long, jet black hair that just shined. And his clothes were beautiful, because I do historic, costuming and stuff too. So I noticed that fabric. I was like, where did you get that? I thought that was one of the people. And I thought, man, you look good. And so I'm drying my hands off quickly to rush out the back door to say, oh, hey, she's not here yet, kind of thing. Because they were so solid, I thought it was a person. And I'm thinking, my gosh. And so this person is very tall, and he's walking by, and he's swinging his arms, as he's walking with long gait. And he turns as he gets right up to the kitchen window where I'm at, and he turns his head. He doesn't look at me, which is great, because being part Irish, with the banshees and stuff, you don't want anybody to look you in the eye, because then if something bad happens, like it's going to be you or something. So, he didn't look at me, but he did tilt his head my direction, but didn't look me in the face. And then I thought that was strange. And I'm like, hey, tapping on the window, hey, just a minute, I'm coming out, And so he never looked at me, no emotion. And he turned, and he just kept walking. And then I realized I have these big sliding glass doors here, so I'm running the doors to get to him. I'm opening the sliding glass door, still never taking my eyes off him. He's just walking, totally ignoring my tapping and my talking. And as I get there, I realize I can now, where he was quite solid, 3-4 steps ago, now I can see my birdhouses in the back house and stuff behind him more and more. I get the door open, thinking, half of me is like, that's not human. Don't go after it. But the other part of me is like, hey, guy, she's not home yet. And he just disappeared into nowhere. Just in there. And if you saw the property, that you can't do that. There's no way, because it's acreage. So you can't just disappear out of my sight. And then 3 days later, he was all in dark. You have to think the first one was more light. He was in like royal blues and whites and things. This guy was all black. His hair was long and black. Everything was black, and he was kind of whitish, ashen gray. And my brother was murdered 3 days later.
Wow.
So I've always wondered and thought, were those death angels, perhaps, that were coming for them, but one, maybe because it was a natural death and he had a heart attack, and the other was a murder. Was that because it was more foreboding? I don't know. I mean, those are things I've never been able to answer, and other people have said, yes, that's what it was. I don't know. I mean, maybe they were angels of different sorts. Not sure. But that piqued my curiosity, of course. And then when I was very young, another one of the instances where it was very physical is I was, probably about 14, and it's the middle of the day. Everything happens, really crazy things happen to me in the middle of the day, so I don't need a dark, stormy night, but I'll take one, so it's okay. But so, middle of the day, I was laying down for taking a nap, and I woke up because somebody was stroking the hair back out of my face, literally lifting it up where you could feel it. And back then I still have, fairly long hair, but my hair then was down past my waist. So it was really long. And so they were playing with my hair and stroking my face and just, how somebody, like, if they really love you, and it felt very, maybe maternal or something like that, because they were touching my face and then with the front and the back of their hand and stroking my hair and just petting me. One hand was across my back and on my shoulder and just petting me. And I woke up thinking, what is this? And it was a lady who was obviously dead. And, I described her exactly to my mom after I ran screaming out of the room. And she said, oh my gosh, that's exactly what your grandmother, her mother, was buried in and what she looked like. When her hair she wore it up, but she had the long hair and everything, and she was in that exact dress that I described. And she took me to the closet, and she said, I kept a dress that was somewhat like that. We couldn't decide which one to put her in, and we buried her in that one, but here's one that looked a lot like, and it was just, it really blew me away. So those are some things that, made me wonder, what was that about?
Well, I really, really appreciate you taking your time out to be on my show tonight.
You're the first interview I would grant. Everybody asks, and I always like, no.
You're awesome. I really appreciate it, and I will see you Friday. And we will talk more then. But thank you for being on the show.
Loved it. Thanks.
All right. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Teal Gray. I hope you enjoyed that. She is always fun to talk to. She has so much that we can talk about, so we'll probably have to have her back for a second show. I hope she'll say yes again. Anyway, a few announcements real quick. Dakota Lawrence is August 30th. We running out of time for tickets, so get your tickets now. They're $70, and it includes the investigation at the Gemini. There's only going to be 15 people in each gallery, so do not miss this. It's going to be amazing. Phantom Fest in San Antonio, Texas is September 26th and 27th. That is also going to be an amazing event, and we will be there live on Penn, actually. I'm getting trained to do live stream from Phantom Fest, so we will be there live. Then on October the 3rd through the 5th, Mississippi Parafest in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Do not miss that. The guys from Deep South Paranormal and my buddy Chris Malonsong will be there speaking, and I will have a vendor table there with Paranologies and Ghost Hunter equipment, so don't miss that. I would like to thank my sponsors, Miss Hattie's Place in Belton, Texas. You've got to check that out. We've got a special going on only until October 1st. So make sure you make your reservation for your investigation as soon as possible. Galena's Murder Bordello in Galena, Kansas. We will be seeing you this weekend, and you've all got to check that place out. It's amazing and beautiful and very, very active with lots of history. The last but not least is my NOLA Ghost Hunting Tours buddies down there in New Orleans and at the Gemini. If you're ever down in New Orleans, you got to look these guys up. This is not your actual everyday ghost walk. This is an actual investigation. So don't miss that. Next week, I will not have a live show. It will be a replay of Dakota Lawrence, a preview of what New Orleans is going to get, August 30th. Then when I come back, it will be Stephen LaChance. After that, Rob Demarest. Don't miss this. You cannot miss my show the next at least month. So anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Great week, and I will see you next. Peace out.